Okay, oops. Okay. Thank you all for being here at the general members meeting of the Society, the Societas Linguistica Europaea in 2023, which is hereby opened. And personally, at least, I would like to start before going to the rest of the agenda with thanking Nikos and his team for the work they have put up so far. Aren't we all still enjoying it? Okay, so now we move up to the agenda. The second point is a minute of silence for deceased members and Bert.
Good afternoon. At least one member passed away, and very recently this week, Irene Filipaki Warburton. She was a professor at Reading University and had a huge impact on Greek linguistics, and many colleagues doing Greek linguistics or doing linguistics in Greece are in debt with her. So we will hold 1 minute of silence. Thank you.
Thank you all. Point 3 is minutes of the members meeting, the online members meeting of 30 June 2023, which was an attachment with the agenda. And that was, as you have seen, very brief. Was a members meeting that was necessary for formal reasons, namely to take the decision which has to be taken for formal reasons of the articles of association, which are constructed under Dutch law, that within 6 months we have to say something about the financial report or decide to postpone it. And so we had to decide to postpone it. And you have to approve in this meeting of those minutes. Can I have your approval? Yes? Please let me know if the acoustics is, if I'm not, if you can't hear me. Is it okay? Okay. Maybe we're the only ones that have a lot of echo. So I asked for your, okay, that's better. That even for me it's not bad. Can I have your approval of these minutes? Okay, I see everyone only nodding. Thank you very much. So we go to the next item, which is reports on various topics, and the first is by the editor of Folia, Linguistica.
You can hear okay? Yeah. Right. We're doing it together. Sune Gregersen is called the editorial assistant, but in fact he was associate editor. And so we think we should do this together. Could you run the program? Okay. Well, as you can see, 2 regular issues and 1 special issue in 2022. Quite big issues, as you can see. And the special issue was on multifunctionality and syncretism in non-finite forms. And then in 2023, again, 1 regular issue and 1 special issue. And this time the special issue was published before the regular issue because it was ready before the other one. And the last one, number 3, is ready and will appear in November. What's that? And what we always do, what Sune always does, is just a list of all the different languages that have been topic or subject of the articles. And I think it's very nice to see that there are so many different languages here. And also this was interesting. Yeah, there is 1 review article because it was quite critical it was more than a review, so we made it into an article. And we also have introduced, I think this wasn't often done as far as we know, if there was some discussion about an article, discussion between the reviewers, we thought it would be nice to give it a little bit more attention. So we have discussion notes and replies. And these are all the papers that have been published, as you can see. Nice number. And book reviews, of course. And this is the, well, as you can all see, November issue. And I think this is probably interesting to see because, well, you see what we have already accepted for upcoming issues, which is good for the people who will follow us because this is our last period. Papers that are still under review, quite a lot, but especially papers that were desk rejected after review it happens, but not a lot, because of course we look at these papers and we only send them to reviewers if we think there's something in them. But there were many, many desk rejections, and I will ask Sune to give a note on the type of desk rejections, especially to do with fraud.
Yes, so Olga asked me to just sort of explain why we have so many desk rejections. It's not because we don't want your papers, and it's not because we just we don't think that we are sort of overly critical. We actually send out a lot of papers for review, and we are welcoming to many different approaches. And you will see in the description on the website that we actually, if you look at the papers that have been published, that it's papers on many different languages and belonging to many different sort of sub-branches of linguistics. But what happens occasionally is that we get submissions that have nothing to do with linguistics at all. So I think that may be because we're on the indexing lists. There are sort of various lists of humanities journals, and then sometimes because we're on that list, people will assume that we're a humanities journal, so you can send in your paper on poetry analysis, for instance. And poetry analysis is interesting, but it's not exactly our main focus. But then the more sort of, the slightly sort of worrying development that has happened, and which has really been very visible in the past year, is that we get submissions from so-called paper mills. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. I've discussed this with a few other editors, and we also looked at the mailing list of the LSA has a mailing list for journal editors, and it seems to be a common problem that paper mills will, you can, if you're an author who needs a paper published, you can pay money to a paper mill who will then sort of either translate your paper or sort of write it with ChatGPT, maybe sometimes happens, and then they will submit it, including a list of reviewers, potential reviewers. And these reviewers do not exist. They are fraudulent sort of email addresses that are operated by the paper mill itself. So we get quite a lot of these. And we have become quite good at spotting them, I think, Olga. But it's of course, it's something that takes time, and that's...
But it often was a Yahoo, or
Yeah.
in the beginning was always a Yahoo mail address, which we thought was funny. And then we would, sometimes the names were familiar, we would look up these names at the university and would even ask those people, do you also have a Yahoo account? And they did.
And they did.
It was clear enough.
Sometimes it's the suggested reviewers are people who exist, but it's just someone made a fake Yahoo account or a fake Gmail for them. So this kind of thing unfortunately happens. I think it's interesting, right? Not interesting. I think it's important that people know about it.
Exactly.
And, yeah. So that was all, right?
Right.
Yeah. I'll switch back to.
Okay, you do the...
Yes.
Okay, well, this is very important because we are finding it more and more difficult to find reviewers. Not surprising, everyone is busy, but of course reviewers are very important. We've also noticed that it is easier to find a reviewer if you know the reviewer and you have kind of a personal mail. That helps. People are more willing to do the review, and yeah. But there are, I hope you've had time to read this, but we've had some wonderful reviewers and wonderful reviews.
The next slide as well, right?
Even more. Okay, so thank you, all of you, for all your work. Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, do you do it?
We will do this, Maria. Yeah. So we want to announce that there is, as usual, there's a call for special issues for the next special issue, or the second special issue. So for 2025, the deadline for proposals for this is the 1st of December, so soon-ish. And this may come out of an SLE workshop. That would be sort of.
But it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be, but it's something that you might want to consider if you're a workshop organizer. And we usually have a pretty efficient reviewing process of the proposals, so you can expect a reply quite quickly in the middle of by the middle of January. And you can find more information in the SLE newsletter following.
And we usually also send an extra page to give you all the information that we need in order to know that it is a serious proposal.
Yeah. So if you are considering submitting a proposal, you're also welcome to get in touch with the editors, either us or the editorial team of Folia Linguistica Historica, and then we can provide you with more information on the specifics.
Okay, and then because we are finishing our editorial period, we've been there now for 6 years, so there will be a new editor, and we would like to say that we enjoyed it. We enjoyed reading through the articles. We've learned a lot through it, but we've also noticed that it has been an enormous amount of work, more than we expected. More than the previous editor had said it will be like 2 days a week. Well, it's more than 2 days a week. So our suggestion is to the board that maybe next to the editor there should be, like in Folia Historica, there should be associate editors, which would be good because you can share the load, but also you would have a wider overview because it's a big field in Folia Linguistica. So that's our suggestion. And I also want to thank Sune, because he's been a really great help. As I said, he's really been more like an associate editor than an assistant editor. He knows a lot more about computer systems, etc., because I'm a bit of an, I'm not very savvy in this. So Sune did all the work with Mouton, which was a great help. Yeah. So we would like to thank you for your trust in us, and we wish our successors all the best. And of course, we wish Societas and journals all the best with the change to open access when it will happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Olga and Sune, for your reports. And then now we'll have a report by Folia Linguistica Historica, on Folia Linguistica Historica by Marina.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay. So, for Folia Linguistica Historica, yes, we have one issue per year. So in 2022, we had a regular issue, which was published in November, as usual. And for 2023, we again have a regular issue, which is expected in November 2023, indeed. And as Olga said, I have two associate editors, Delia Bentley and Ethan Grossman, and an editorial assistant, Irene De Felice, and they help me very much with all the editorial work, but also the editorial board is of great help, since I share with the people belonging to the editorial board all the submissions, apart from some evident desk rejection. So so they all help me very much, and I thank all these people for this. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. So in 2022, we had 9 papers appeared ahead of print and 4 reviews. For the new forthcoming issue, we will have 8 papers, and all the papers already appeared ahead of print between October 2022 and July 2023. And we will also have 6 reviews, which is a good number. So these are the languages which are represented in the forthcoming issues. So very different languages from different families, and very happy for these. And this is the general status of submissions. Since Folia has just one, Folia Linguistica Historica has just one issue, we receive, of course, a smaller number of submissions as compared to Folia Linguistica. We have 8 desk rejections, and again, these are papers which do not have anything to do with linguistics, as soon explained before, but also papers which do not have something to do with a diachronic perspective, a linguistical historical perspective. So we reject them. Then we had a paper rejected after reviewing, a paper withdrawn by the authors, and we have 5 papers already accepted for publication in the 2024 issue, and 7 papers under revision. So the total is 30 papers and 6 reviews. So this is the list of our reviewers for Folia Linguistica Historica 44, and I really thank all of them for their great job and their help. So this is the joint impact factor for the 2 journals. We can certainly improve it thanks to your submissions and your help. So you are very welcome to submit papers to, I can say, both the journals. And this is the call for proposals that soon already illustrated for the special issue. So,
Are there any questions about the journal reports? Thank thanks again. And we move on to the report on the conferences, it says on the agenda. So Anna, please.
Thank you. So a few more numbers from my side now. That's doesn't keep the screen. Yep, well, the numbers are very small, but they will come up on the next slides too. So as you can see, when it comes to submissions this year and accepted papers, it's one of the biggest conferences in the last 15 years. We had 644 submitted papers and 543 accepted papers. The last two columns are maybe a little bit presented a bit too early. That our code may be wrongly that shouldn't be presented paper, but scheduled papers, because there were some cancellations in the last days. So the final number is a bit lower.
So 84 and 85%.
Yep. So we had an acceptance rate of 84%. But it will. Can I now go to the next slide? Or? Yes, but you can't see the numbers of this year.
We'll skip the first year.
Yep. Okay. So we had a high number of submissions, 644. That's a bit more than last year, but quite similar to 2 years ago. The acceptance rate, as well as the number of withdrawals, is quite standard if you look at the span of the 15 years. Now, that's not a very clear figure when it comes to numbers, but it's visually quite clear. It's when the submissions arrive. So you can see that there is a lot of red at the end. Basically, most submissions come between 10th and 15th of January, and not that many before. And two interesting facts about submissions. So just slightly over half of them were submitted by one author, 1/4 by two authors. And if there were more than two authors, it was most of the time many. I think the biggest was like 22 people, 22 co-authors. And the topics, we notice quite a big interest in non-European languages this year. Of course, the Germanic and Romance languages are one of the top topics as usual. And then semantic syntax, morphosyntax, and historical linguistics were the most often selected topics. That's yeah, okay. Well, that's quite aligned with the topics selected by the reviewers. So we have the right reviewers for the interest of our presenters. Perhaps apart from the non-European languages, as quite a few of you might know, because you were asked to join the reviewing board to fill in the gaps in expertise. Now, when it comes to the balance between general and workshop sessions, you know that this year was a little bit of an experimental year when it comes to workshops, because we did not expect a predefined length of workshops. Interestingly, it didn't have really any impact on the balance between the general session and workshops. So we had 20 accepted workshops, same as 2 years ago. And if you look at the number of submissions, this is ideally half-half, 322 submitted to workshops and 322 submitted to general session. After acceptance, the number is just slightly higher for the general session than for workshop, but it drops when it comes to the schedule. there were way more cancellations in the general session than in workshops this year. Now, as I said, we did not expect a predefined length of a workshop, so there is quite a difference between the shortest and the longest workshops that we have this year. The shortest has 8 talks and the longest 24, so that's a big difference in number, but most of them have between 12 to 15 talks. And I don't know, I'm curious about your experience with this new approach to workshops. On our side, I have to say that it was very positive because we had a feeling that it gave more flexibility to the workshop organizers and participants. And also on our side, it was more difficult to schedule workshops of a different length, but then it was easier to schedule the general session. So it's win some, lose some, I guess. So with 644 submitted abstracts, we had almost 2,000 reviews performed, and the name of the reviewers would certainly not fit the slide, but you can see that on the SLE website in the scientific committee page. And I would like to thank both chairs, the chair of the workshop and the chair of general session, Francesca Di Garbo and Carolina Grzech, for the amazing work in dividing submissions, contacting the reviewers and workshop organizers, session chairs, and keeping an eye on the schedule being as good as possible. And of course, to all members of EASY Chair Program Committee. Thank you so much for your work.
Any questions on the conference manager's report? If not, then we continue with the report by the secretary on the SLE membership.
I will be very short because I knew somehow that it would be rather hot in here. So, and I have positive news. We have more members than last year. We have 1,303 members in good standing. And last year we only had 1,120. So this means that we have, well, 16% more. And I think this has to do with the fact that we come out of COVID and that people resume their normal work and that we can count on them as before, as you see in 18, 19, and 20. So we are happy about this, of course. We can't deny that the effect of the conference is also very big. If we have so many participants, then we also have new members. So that's also a very good thing. So that's it. Perhaps I can just add that I also write to the members that did not renew from time to time, for instance, just before the conference, just to announce the program, to show that we are still alive and kicking, and that some of those addressees renew, but they are not a very big group.
Okay, thank you, Bert. And then final report by the treasurer, which is going to consist for the first time in SLE's history of two parts, the report by the treasurer himself, but according to our new articles of association, there also has to be an audit committee, so we had one for the first time this year. And is the audit committee able to report? One of you will be, both are there, so the entire audit committees. So after Lachlan is done, we would like to hear the report from the audit committee. First, the treasurer himself.
So, good afternoon, everyone. So what I'll be presenting is a report on the finances for 2022, and also giving you a statement of income and expenditure up to and including a couple of days ago, so that you have an idea how things are going this year. So the expenditure then in 2022 first. This slide covers the day-to-day expenditure, so the general running of this Societas, executive expenses. But it was a year that was marked by a couple of special activities. One was the development of the website. You probably will have seen that our website looks, and yes, and indeed, with the associated app, is much more up-to-date and effective and oriented towards the needs of the membership. And that, of course, called for an investment, and the investment is reflected in the total that you see there. Another thing we did was to renew the articles of association of the Societas. I contacted a notary in the Netherlands, and she looked at our constitution and smiled and said, "You realize this has absolutely no value whatsoever." And I said, "Well, I suspected that might be the case, and that's why I came to speak to you." And so she and her company put together, obviously in regular conversation with the executive, new articles of association, which you will find on the website. And the presence of the auditors today, for example, is a reflection of that new regime. You may be wondering what's meant by negative interest. This rather caught me unawares, but there was a while, it's now past, when if you had a certain amount of money, considerable amount of money in your bank account, you didn't receive any interest on it, you actually had to pay the bank. And so that occurred for 3 months, and that then explains the small amount of negative interest that we had to pay. Okay, so moving on. These are sort of non-conference expenditures. We give support to linguistics conferences, and we make an annual donation to the SIPL and to the Linguist List, and of course also another recent innovation, research grants. And then the conference expenditure for the conference in Bucharest. The expenditures here are listed very much in line with what you might expect. You may remember the excellent lunches that we had there, and it was a corresponding fee, but it was all successfully covered, and we ended up with a surplus at the end of the conference of almost 10,000 euros. And according to the agreement with the University of Bucharest, 50% of that we kept in our own coffers, and the other 50% went to the University of Bucharest. So the total expenditure in 2022 was almost 110,000 euros. Expenditure in that year rose again, but not to pre-pandemic levels. As you can see that in 2020 and 2021, expenditure was low, but generally it picked up in 2022. But this year, has risen absolutely up to the level to be expected. So we've completely recovered our financial situation. As I mentioned, there was a major outlay in 2022 on refurbishing the website, the research grants I also mentioned, and the surplus. Now, expenditure is one side of the balance sheet, the other is income, and thank you, members, for continuing to have faith in us, pay your membership, and attend our conference. And another source of income are the royalties that we receive for the journals and publishers, stands, and just we have to be complete refund after return of unused water. But the attentive among you will have noticed that income exceeded expenditure in 2022, so we have a positive result of some 12,000 euros. Now, so after 2 years with negative results, 2019 and 2020, the results for 21 and 22 have been positive, or one might say very positive. So my successor as treasurer will have the benefit of a nice soft cushion of financial resources. And as Bert mentioned, membership is now stabilized in the post-pandemic period around 1,300. What about the situation this year? Well, I haven't received all the invoices yet. For a number of the suppliers, the arrangement has been that I have already paid 50 or 66 or 70% of the final bill, but so the rest will arrive in September once the conference is over, and the caterers and the tour operators and so on have calculated exactly what we owe them. We pay every year a certain sum to Walter de Gruyter for the journals, but so that's on the expenditure side, but you'll see on the income side we also receive royalties. The royalties are always less than what we pay. In other words, the journals are sort of a net loss, but of course a huge gain in intellectual terms. So things have gone well, largely thanks to the size of this conference. The larger the conference, the better we do, basically, financially speaking. So the expenditure so far, just over 110,000, and the income, almost 190,000. So again, a provisional result of over 75,000, but we mustn't imagine that we are that rich, because there are still many things coming. All the the final payments for catering, excursions, the courtesy coaches, the plenary speakers, that should be plural speakers, expenses, gala dinner, and so on. And also the awards arising from this conference. And however, my confident expectation is that this conference will also yield a surplus which can be divided between SLE and the university here in Athens. So, in conclusion, Societas is, in my view, in a strong financial situation with holdings yesterday approximating 200,000 euros. So there is ample room. This is something that my colleagues at the executive always ask me, we'd like to do various things, but can we afford it? Well, I would say, generally speaking, at the moment, yes, we can easily do all the things we've already committed to doing, and there is room for new ideas that some of you may be cherishing. So that, I think, brings my report to a conclusion. Thank you very much.
Hello. Yeah, so as we heard briefly before, this is a new thing for the SLE. Me and my colleague Ton van der Wouden, if I'm pronouncing that correctly this time, were contacted a bit over a week ago, so there was not an awful lot of time to prepare this. But as the small committee in charge of auditing the finances, we got to receive essentially all the information for 2022. And so far, we are expected, I think, to provide some sort of feedback as to whether we think everything is in order. And after consulting with my colleague, we both agreed that as our current information stands, everything looks good. We have to congratulate the treasurer on his job. And if we have to submit a recommendation, right, our recommendation would be to accept the current report.
Thank you very much. So 4 independent eyes have looked at the materials behind what the treasurer has been reporting. That's very, very good. So now we're up to the point where we ask you as an executive committee to, on the basis of the reports that you are here to discharge us for the plan. Of course, yes, there may still be questions from the floor. True. The secretary is writing, pointing that out too. Are there any questions on the treasurer's report and the audit committee's report? No questions? Then I can turn to the question, are you willing to discharge us? No objections? Thank you. Then one other thing that came out of the construction of the new Articles of Association was that formally we didn't have to put everything that the Executive Committee and other parts of the association, officers of the society are doing into those formally required formal articles, but we have the opportunity to put things in rules of procedure and regulations, and we drafted and approved as an executive committee one set of regulations for the tasks of the executive committee that we think is useful, that lays down basically the kinds of things that the executive committee is undertaking, commits itself to undertake on behalf of and for the membership. And so you see that's listed, and I would like to know if you approve of those. No objections? Thank you. I think it was one of the attachments to the agenda for this meeting that was sent to you. Now I'd like to invite our colleagues from Helsinki to tell us about the upcoming conference. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to welcome you all to Helsinki in a year's time. Here are the dates for next year's conference, so a week earlier in August. And yes, to go. So, well, you all know where Helsinki is. From here, just go straight north. And I can promise you that the weather will probably be a bit cooler but usually in late August we still have very nice temperatures and nice weather, so the white light summer nights are over, but we still have very long days, so August is a very nice time to come to Helsinki. Well, here are some pictures. Helsinki is just by the sea. The cathedral is maybe figuring on all pictures of Helsinki. This is the venue, so we are going to be in the main building of the university, which was built in the 1840s, 50s. It's right at the heart of Helsinki, by the Senate Square, and well, as we are going to be in the center, all the hotels will be at a walking distance, and there will be, logistically, it will be very easy and convenient. So here's a picture of the center campus and the Senate Square, and some more pictures of the venue. I have a lot of pictures here, but I don't have a video, but I'm scrolling fast, so it's almost like a video. So some pictures from the inside, from the Senate Square. There's usually a huge terrace on the Senate Square in the summer. In Helsinki, you can enjoy a lot of architecture, modern art architecture, Art Nouveau, Jugendstil. Helsinki is one of the capitals of Art Nouveau, so if you're interested in that kind of architecture, Helsinki is the place to be. Yeah, we have a thriving community, a large community of linguists and linguistics in Helsinki, so we are very happy that we can organize SLE in Helsinki. I think the last time it was in Finland was 2007 in Joensuu, and it has never been in Helsinki before, so it's a first time experience for us. Well, some pictures. Then if we're talking about possible excursions, we are thinking of, Finnish lakes and forests. We can go to the Nuuksio National Park, maybe enjoy some sauna and swimming in the lakes if you're interested. We can go to some small wooden cities by the coastline, Porvoo, which is a very nice place to go. Or we can go to the Suomenlinna sea fortress, which is right in front of Helsinki by the sea, a UNESCO heritage site. Very interesting place as well. So, yeah, this is just a very short touristic advertisement for next year's conference. So, welcome, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
I have one question. When I'm in Finland, I see people having lunch from 11. Do we have lunch at 11 too?
Yeah, we can accommodate. Yes.
Okay. Anna Stulic is here too. Anna? Yeah. And we agreed on the dates somehow. You also were in touch, I think. Yeah. And oh, yeah, come over. So no presentation was expected. Don't worry.
Yeah, just good afternoon, everyone. Just to say that we just fixed the dates. So we are starting organizing, and I would like also to say thank you to Pierre-Yves Modicom. Actually, we had this idea together. Pierre-Yves worked at Bordeaux, but now he works in Lyon. But he's still a part of our linguistic scientific team. So we are hoping you will come to Bordeaux in 2 years, but we'll see each other in Helsinki, and we'll talk about that more. Thank you.
For 2026, so far there's no proposal, but I must confess that several members of the EC would like to go to Austria. So, so hint, hint, hint. Yeah. Okay, and now I would like to invite Katarzyna and perhaps also Camille. They would like to make an announcement about the International Congress of Linguists.
You put up the website as well? The link I sent you. Okay. Okay, yeah, but in the meantime I can. Okay, hello everybody, and this is going to be very short because this is not an SLE conference, but still it's an occasion to advertise it a bit. So next year, Sipu, Camille is a representative of, invited us in Poznan at Adam Mickiewicz University to organize the International Congress of Linguists. As you know, this is a conference that takes place every 5th year, right? So this is going to be next year in Poznan in September, and exactly in between the 8th and the 14th of September. So you'll still have some time to rest after Helsinki and then come to Poznan. The website, you have just launched it, so hopefully it's going to work, right? But it's kind of a draft website, but I hope it's going to go ready. And I have brought some leaflets, which if anybody is interested, you can take, please. This is a conference which has a long tradition. What we will have, well, as a congress, we calculate around 1,000 participants. Plenaries have been invited already, and there are 12 of them, and there will be special sessions and focus stream sessions, and we've already invited conveners to organize those. So the plan is for this to be quite a huge event, right? And the call for papers has been issued already on the linguist list, but we'll repeat it, right? And now we'll advertise the website. Well, Poznan and Adam Mickiewicz University, as you know, has quite a tradition of organizing conferences. We did SLE 3 times in the history of SLE, one quite recently. Also, every year there is a Poznan linguistic meeting now coming when we go back to Poznan. That is very soon. There's going to be Poznan linguistic meeting in Poznan. So, and very many other conferences. So I think that you can trust us that we'll manage to organize it. Thank you very much, right? Okay, so Camille.
The only thing I should like to add is that we are very grateful to the Poznan people to organize the conference, and I hope to see all of you in a year time in Poznan.
So it looks like it's there. It still needs probably some work, but it's there, right? So please come. Thank you.
Okay, then we would like to report on 2 new initiatives from the EC. That's donation, the possibility of giving to other members as part of the registration form. This is because we have received over the years messages, invitations, requests for financing. Traveling costs, because we already have a very low registration fee for people coming from economically challenged countries. And we will try it. So we'll give it a try and we will see whether people are willing to donate. And then we also have a topic which has been on the agenda since a couple of years already, but now we have a specific proposal. That's SLE Life membership, and it will be 500 euros. So to be a member for life. Okay. Can you agree with this proposal? Yeah.
Okay, so our next point is the elections of the new officers of the EC, and we go by the one by one. But before I do that, I would like to thank the nomination committee and its chair, Ashut Ness in particular, for their work in preparing the slate. Okay, so here we go. Proposal for president-elect. Yeah, she's here. It's Livio Gaeta from the University of the Università di Torino. And I take your applause as approval. Thank you for Serena. And we already knew, because that's part of the procedure, the standard rules, is that our president-elect, at last year's president-elect, Eva Schulze-Berndt, will be next year's president. And the idea is that I will have the honor of serving as your vice president next year. So, as you've heard, the editorial team of Folia Linguistica is stepping down. Their editor, Olga Fischer in particular, and there is a proposal and a person willing to start doing it, Viviana Massia from the Università Roma III. Is she present here? Anyway, we're very happy that the nominated, not in this meeting. But we approve of her. Now, with the treasurer, as in the call for this meeting and the agenda, you have seen that this position, when the slate had to be sent, was still vacant. But in the meantime, we have received one candidacy who declared himself willing to take this on, Nikolaos Lavidas, who we all know. Can we approve of his? We have received no other. So. Like you, we were already also very happy that this vacancy could be filled. Yeah. Then two new members for the executive committee, and now I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing the first candidate's last name, Livia Corveliesi. Thank you. University of Košice, and Mark Olivier, University of Oxford. Thank you. And then two new members of the scientific committee, Olga Krashnukova from the University of Universiteit Leiden, I should say. I don't see Olga here. She's not here. Okay, but we're happy to have her. Peter Arkyadov, is he here? Not good. Can we agree to both these candidates? And two new members for the nominating committee, Kate Bellamy from Leiden, who also couldn't be here, and František Kratošvili from Olomouc Is he not here either? But can we approve of these? Well, then this is up till this moment the slate of the officers, and that is now going to be changed. So in the executive committee, Nicolas Lapidus will leave a vacancy since he has just been elected our new treasurer. And in consultation with the nomination committee, we propose Iker Salaberry, and he's also willing to do so for 1 year, one additional year of Nicolas' mandate would have ended in 2024, and that will now be replaced for that year by Iker Salaberry is the proposal. Okay? In the scientific committee, they already see it. Viviana leaves a vacancy because of becoming editor, and so the proposal is that she will be replaced by Olga Krashenkova as member of the scientific committee. Right? Yeah. So that's the. So these are the elections, and elections mean that we also are saying goodbye to a number of officers, and you see them here. We're saying goodbye to we want to say thanks to them. Mensen hebben their names and saying thanks to them. Leonid Kulikov is leaving the nomination committee. Thanks to him for that work. Ashil Nas is leaving as head of the nomination committee and has served on top of that 4 years as a member of that committee. Francisca Di Garbo as head of the scientific committee, also many thanks. Magdalena Brembel as vice president, former president of the association, and thanks to all of them. I take that applause. And there are two, and I'm sure that none of the persons mentioned so far will object to my spending a few more words to two others who have served 2 long terms altogether in special roles. First, Olga Fischer, as you heard, served 2 terms of editor of the journal, 6 years in total. As we heard you say, and we have seen it, we have been able to observe it, that it was a lot of work. It's also a big responsibility being an editor of the journal. You take fire, but you coped with it. And yeah, you've been also very, very clear. We have seen your report and how conscientious you have undertaken your job. We know, and we've also heard that you had great support from Sune, so we thank him with you as well. And we of course take a note of your suggestion, as you called it, for making a bit of a change and extension of the editorial team. We'll get back to that. But for now, especially a lot of thanks for the 6 wonderful years of service as editor. Olga, would you please come over?
I would also like to thank you, Olga, for your no-nonsense approach, for your dry messages, for your commitment and dedication, and for the friendship. So thank you so much. We have a small present. Actually, it's 2 presents, because we thought if it's only alcohol, it's not of these times, so there should be a non-alcoholic alternative too. So that's why we have alcohol, but also an alternative. Last but not least, Lachlan Mackenzie.
treasurer for 2 terms, 6 years, also a very responsible and important task. And again, we have seen how well and conscientiously conducted that. And we all thank you for in that, the performance of that work, your patience. Discreetness that was sometimes required, and you did it wonderfully. Also, of course, the reliability, very important for a treasurer, but it was totally reliable all the time. But also other stuff, helping us improve our English once in a while. And you mentioned the Articles of Association as a special point of expenditure, but I think it may be the case that you have sort of saved this society from disaster by asking the notariate lawyer that question of what do you think, are these still in good shape, and then finding out that we really needed to do a lot of things, improvement on that. So I really want to thank you on behalf of all of us and for all that work and those things that you, in addition to that, you did for us and for the society.
I would like to add to that praise the very nice collaboration, your sense of diplomacy, your sense of humor also, your keenness to look for solutions. And I think I will miss it. I will miss it, although I'm now also a bit busy and I only have 1 more year, but I will miss it. So thank you so much, and we'll keep in touch. Yeah. Okay, so for you, actually, the special note on that, because there was, at the airport of Brussels, there was Belgian whiskey, but I didn't dare. I didn't dare. So that's why I have also the alcoholic Geneva, but also the non-alcoholic cocktail things. So, and I would like to add also something on Magdalena, because she was wonderful in the sense that she proposed many things. And for instance, today, SLE wouldn't have the grants that we have without her. Moreover, she also took track, or how do you say, so she kept track on what we decided before, and the importance, for instance, of keeping the newsletter. And so she was a very stimulating force within the EC. So we also will miss you. But of course, there's many other people. Nobody is irreplaceable. But thank you so much for your commitment and dedication. Since presidents already receive a lot of fame, we don't have presents for presidents. Okay.
Other business, almost final point on the agenda. Are there any questions to Livio?
So we have here one former president of the society, and I've been told or reminded during the conference that next year in January, the Linguistic Society of America will celebrate 100 years of the foundation. And actually, Brian Joseph is organizing the celebration. He told me, asked me to mention him as a reference person for any kind of information. Then I was wondering, since as we know, I mean, the LSA has been the inspiration of the LSE. I was wondering whether our society would like to be present on the occasion officially in a certain form. I mean, what do you think? because it will happen in January, as far as I know, and in New York City. Yes, yes, yes. This might all, I mean, simply also a short congratulation message, or more than this. I mean,
okay, we can look at paying some attention to it from our side. Should definitely be done, and in what form exactly? Let's look into the possibilities there. Right, we will take that up. Are there any other issues? Eva, can you come up? No? Congratulations on becoming president. It's up to you to close the meeting.
Thank you very much. I feel hugely honored to have been elected the next president. I really feel committed to the SLE for its wonderful diversity and inclusivity, and I hope that will continue. There's probably always things to improve, so I think I'm speaking on behalf of the executive committee that in saying if you have any suggestions for the society, then please contact the members of the executive committee. And then I would like to thank the outgoing president, now Vice President Ari, for his year of inspiring us, proposing initiatives, talking about outreach, and being a very kind, generous-spirited president. Also for a wonderful plenary talk, I should say. Then, as Avi has pointed out, it obliges to me to close the meeting for today. Also thanking everyone else.
So enjoy your last day. See you at the dinner, and thanks again to the local organizing committee and Anja Kisiel for all the work and for the excellent results. It has been a pleasure to be here, and tonight this will be confirmed again, I think. Tomorrow, perhaps also.